Sony, of course, with the biggest booth here at the NAB Show, and joining us now on stage is John Studdert, Vice President, Strategic Sales at Sony. Thanks so much for making the walk from the booth.
My pleasure. It's great to be here. There's
so much great stuff on display at your Sony booth this year. You almost need the whole day to get through it all. Let's talk about what is next for television.
It has to be 4K. Over the last few years, we've seen the film industry in the theater industry move from 35 millimeter to 4K. And a lot of the consumers are getting used to that beautiful quality. Now that technology is moving to the small screen.
What advantage does 4K have for the consumer? I mean, production-wise, it seems to have a lot. What does it have for the consumer?
Oh, my goodness. When you look at it, you're just stunned by the quality, especially after looking at high def. First, you're quadrupling the quality, and that's just the resolution, but it doesn't stop there. You have to look at the dynamic range. If you look at a sporting event like soccer and you pull away from the screen, now you can see as much detail in the background as you do in the foreground. So you can see the play develop as if you're there. I think for entertainment, it's clear. Everyone has seen that moving video. You can just see all that extra that you haven't seen before. In fact, while I was at CES, they put up a still picture that was shot on an alpha camera. And I had to go back to it 4 or 5 times because each time I went back, I saw some details in the background that I had missed before, as if I was revisiting a piece of art. We're going to see the same thing with TV and drama and full feature releases.
And I love how close you can get to it. I remember as a kid, my parents said, don't sit too close to the TV. And now, of course, you can get right up there.
Exactly. The old rules are gone.
It's totally gone. When do you think consumers are going to embrace 4K? Because many of us, in the past 5, 6 years, just bought an HD TV.
And it's a great point, and it's going to take a little while to roll out, and we could debate the timeline, but it is inevitable. And Sony took a big stride forward this week by announcing the price of the 65-inch, and I think it stunned a lot of people because we came in at $6,999, and for the 55-inch, we came in at $4,999. So considering the 84-inch we had come out with, I don't know, about, let's say within the last 6 months, was $25,000. So this is a huge breakthrough. So that's a beginning.
And it's not too far off from a high-end HD TV.
Exactly right.
So a little bit more, you get that 4K.
And it comes with unbelievable audio as well. The speakers are just something to behold.
Okay, so what are we going to be able to watch in 4K first off? Who do you think is going to be first out of the gate to sort of produce this content?
Well, we'll start with the pictures made for cinema release. So with the server that came with our 84-inch, and we have a new 4K server that we're going to release for consumers that'll be out early this summer, that'll come with content. 4K movies will be preloaded, and you'll be able to then download 4K movies onto the server. But soon right after that, it's going to be, I believe, television. This year, some of the pilots, as well as the TV shows, are being mastered on 4K. And even if it's not released on 4K, let's say 2K, the masters are going to start building up the library. So as the consumers catch up, once those TV shows go into syndication, they'll be ready in 4K.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell me about Sony's involvement with 4K. You talked about some of your TV